Rain tapped softly against the glass walls of the upscale restaurant as Adrian Cole sat alone at his usual corner table. Untouched steak growing cold in front of him. As the CEO of a billion-dollar company, he was used to silence boardrooms that listened, employees that obeyed, but tonight, the quiet felt heavier than usual. His phone buzzed with unread messages, none of which mattered. Across the street, through the blurred window, he noticed a homeless family huddled beneath a flickering a weary mother, a shivering father, and a small child clutching a worn-out toy. Something about them stirred, a feeling Adrian couldn't ignore. Acting on impulse, he signaled the waiter and quietly paid for a full meal, asking that it be served to the family outside. Minutes later, the restaurant doors opened hesitantly, and the family stepped in, eyes wide with disbelief. The child's gaze wandered curiously around the room, eventually landing on Adrian. Their eyes met for a brief moment, something unspoken passing between them. Adrian quickly looked away, uncomfortable with the unfamiliar warmth in his chest. The family sat down and began to eat slowly, as if afraid the moment might disappear. Adrian tried to return to his own dinner, but found himself watching them instead, noticing how the parents smiled faintly for the first time, how the child giggled softly between bites. When they finished, the family stood up to leave. Adrian lowered his gaze, not wanting recognition or thanks. But as he reached for his glass, he noticed something on his table, a small, folded piece of paper that hadn't been there before. His breath caught. He slowly picked it up, his fingers trembling slightly. Inside was a crude drawing, clearly made by the child. 3 stick figures, standing under a bright sun, holding hands. Above them, in uneven handwriting, were the words, "Thank you for seeing us." Adrian froze. The noise of the restaurant faded into nothing as he stared at the drawing. For the first time in years, his success felt insignificant compared to this small, genuine act of gratitude. The loneliness he had buried under wealth and routine cracked open, replaced by something raw and real. As he looked up toward the door where the family had disappeared, he realized that tonight he hadn't just bought them dinner. He had been reminded of something. He didn't know he had lost connection. The small drawing stayed in Adrian's hand long after the restaurant had emptied, its uneven lines an innocent message, echoing louder than any boardroom applause he had ever received. That night, sleep refused to come. He sat in his penthouse, the city lights stretching endlessly below, but his mind kept returning to the child's words, "Thank you for seeing us." It wasn't the gratitude that unsettled him. It was the realization hidden inside it. How many people had he passed every day without truly seeing them? The next morning, Adrian did something no one in his company expected. He canceled all his high-level meetings and asked his assistant to find any information about local shelters and outreach programs. His team was confused, whispers spreading quickly through the office, but Adrian didn't care. For once, profit margins and expansion plans felt secondary. By afternoon, he found himself driving through parts of the city he had never personally visited, areas far removed from the polished image of his corporate world. The memory of the family guided him more than any map. After hours of searching, he finally spotted them near a small public park. The same worn clothes, the same quiet resilience. He stepped out of his car, his expensive shoes hitting the cracked pavement, feeling strangely out of place. The mother stiffened at first, clearly unsure of his intentions, but recognition softened her expression. Adrian spoke gently, offering not just another meal, but real help, temporary housing, access to education for the child, and a chance to rebuild their lives. The father hesitated, pride flickering in his eyes, but the child stepped forward first, smiling shyly, as if already trusting him. That simple moment broke whatever barrier remained. Adrian realized this wasn't about charity, was about responsibility, about using what he had built to change something real. As he watched the child clutch that same drawing, now slightly wrinkled, he felt a quiet shift inside himself. The loneliness that once defined him began to fade, replaced by purpose. For the first time in years, Adrian wasn't just leading a company, he was beginning to understand what it meant to truly matter. Adrian couldn't shake the feeling that the child's drawing had changed something permanent inside him. And in the weeks that followed, that quiet moment grew into something far greater than a single act of kindness. What began with helping one family soon expanded into a mission he could no longer ignore. He established a foundation through his company, redirecting resources toward housing programs, education initiatives, and job opportunities for families living on the streets. His executives were stunned at first, unsure how this shift would affect the business. But Adrian led with a conviction they had never seen before, one rooted not in ambition, but in humanity. The homeless family became the heart of it all. Adrian ensured they were given a small, comfortable apartment. The child enrolled in a good school, and both parents offered stable work opportunities through his network. Yet, he didn't just provide from a distance. He visited often, sitting with them over simple meals, listening to their stories, learning about their struggles. Once shy and uncertain, grew brighter with each passing day, often showing Adrian new drawings, each one filled with warmth, color, and hope. One afternoon, the child handed him another picture. This time, it wasn't just 3 stick figures under a sun. It was a larger scene, a building, many people, and in the center, a figure in a suit, standing among them, above them. Adrian felt his throat tighten as he realized what it meant. He was no longer just the man who had seen one family. He had become someone who chose to see everyone. His once lonely penthouse no longer felt like a refuge, but a reminder of who he used to be. Instead, he found comfort in the laughter of the family he had helped, in the lives being rebuilt because he had decided to care. The empire he had spent years building finally had a purpose beyond numbers and power. And on a quiet evening, standing by the same restaurant window where it all began, Adrian held both drawings in his hands. The first, simple and raw. The second, full of life and meaning. He realized that the greatest success of his life hadn't been a deal or a decision made in a boardroom. It had been a moment of compassion, a small choice that turned a lonely man into someone truly seen, not by the world, but by himself.